Chains rattle broken, now we rise. Flag in my hand starts burning the skies. Truth ain't dead, though the liars try. They scream loud, but the words all die. Guys watching hands, raise to the throne. Freedom ain't free, blood built this home. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Red, white, blue, we bleed to survive. Continue freedom, keep it alive. Land of the free, ain't bending the knee. Truth in my veins, it's all I see. Patriots roar, no fear in the fight. Continue freedom, stand in the light.
KC's first in the chat tonight. Back to your old ways, KC. Quick on that trigger finger. All right, we've got some interesting stuff to talk about tonight. I know as we have some more folks coming on, and this is one that I have to bring up before we get into the meat and potatoes of it. You know, I always talk about the mental health crisis in this country. Oh, I hope I've got the right screen up. I didn't check that. And yeah, there we go. I've got it. There's a liberal who showed up in Santa Clara at a city hall meeting to make his case against ICE dressed like Batman. We have got a mental health crisis problem on the left. Let's admit that, can we?
What the fuck are we?
Oh, I forgot there was language. Sorry.
Seriously, you have had months to prepare.
Do we think this is the best way to make our point?
Event. I don't give a damn if this is outside of decorum. People are dying on our streets.
It's just a social media move. It's got to be what it is. But I see it, you know, the fact that he has one. I mean, that's a pretty nice Batman outfit. I think I might have said Superman. He's dressed as Batman. I think it's a pretty nice Batman outfit. You spend a pretty penny on it. He had that one for Comic-Con. Either way, this childish behavior from these people, it frustrates me. It really does. So, as we've got more folks on, let's go ahead and start getting into the topics. Hey, Tracy, KC, I've already said something to you, KC. Welcome back. You guys fire up the chat as you typically do. I'm looking forward to talking to you about Tucker Carlson first. Then we're going to get into some of the latest Candace Owens stuff. Then we're going to get into something a little more... I don't want to say nebulous, but we're going to talk about some of the changing language because we had some terrifying stuff shown in Congress, and it's something I've been warning about for a while. AI has made its way into the Senate for them to try to make their case. Really crazy stuff. So this is the clip that's been making its way around the internet today, and it's Tucker Carlson. He's at this business forum that's going on in Saudi Arabia. Let's listen to what he has to say, and then we're going to talk about it. Here we go.
And of course, this year, just a year later, it's like, yeah, of course, everyone's in Saudi. Like they're,
yeah.
And I'm glad to see that because it's reality based. I'm not here to promote the Saudi government. Of course, I'm American, but I think that Saudi Arabia is a fundamentally real country. It's an ancient country. It's the physical center of one of the largest religions in the world, and it is, of course, a force because of its resources and its diplomacy. So, like, I'm glad to see a real country get treated like a real country,
Absolutely.
like an actual country, not just a client of some other country. So,
we know who he's talking about there. Obviously, we're a client of the. I'll get into it. But we're a vassal state to another country. Saudi Arabia, it stands alone and it stands.
It's good.
Come on.
Wouldn't it be wonderful
Let's
if
keep
people had some ideas about those things you've spoken about, the graciousness, the hospitality, the kindness, before they commented on it from afar? Because I think it's an experience which, once you've had, changes your perception.
I strongly agree with that. And I've taken a lot of abuse in my country for saying things like that out loud. I'm, for whatever it's worth, a pretty fervent Christian. And I feel completely comfortable here in the seat of Islam, not because, right? I mean, and why is that? And just saying that is a threat somehow to some people who are propagandists and liars. And but it's true, so I'm going to say it. And moreover, I think it points up like something that's really important about life, which is it's worth meeting people and seeing things before you try to assess them.
Oh, that's a great life lesson. I wish more people
I try not to talk about anything I haven't smelled. And I mean that, and including people. Like, how do you really know? What you're doing is you are taking other people's word for something, which if it's, say, your wife or your children or someone you love is okay, but if it's like a propagandist you've never met who's trying to convince you to do something against your own interests, maybe you should not take his word for it.
So a couple of things here. First off, as we talked about before, he's implying that the U.S. is a vassal state to Israel. That's Tucker's argument. That's the argument for a lot of people. Fine, we can discuss that, but I want to just reiterate the fact that how weak that makes us sound, how weak and feckless the United States must be for a small country in the Middle East to be entirely beholden to them. And they're talking about Israel, so he's talking about. Another thing that he mentioned was, that if you haven't seen the place, if you haven't experienced it, well, we know what drives Islam. We know what drives Saudi Arabia. It is a theocracy. There is no separation between the government and their religion. It's a cornerstone of it. And for him to say, I'm a Christian here, and I feel safe, it's because, first off, he's a visiting Christian. Saudi Arabia started years ago. They were trying to have, auto shows, and this is what all the Islamic, theocracies do, is they say, all right, well, in order for us to bring Westerners in, we have to, loosen up at least with them on some of the Sharia law stuff that we're, using to hold down our own population. I'm going to give you some very specific examples here in a minute. So they kind of open things up a bit for the Westerners, for the people like Tucker, and then they schmooze them. They hobnob them. They show them the pretty buildings. They show them all this. This is how Qatar got him to buy a place there. He's bought a place in Qatar. Now he's talking about Saudi Arabia. And it's, for a guy who is pretty boisterous about how frustrated he is with America being a vassal state to a different country in the Middle East, this is essentially what he's doing, is he is going around theocracy to theocracy and touting it as the solution to all the things that he doesn't like about America. He talks about the fentanyl overdoses, which I think is this video here. Which we've got problems. We have to admit we do have problems. But to say that the most effective alternative is going to be Islam or some sort of a Islamic theocracy, I think is, aside from being okay, Tucker's one of two things. Either Tucker is a well-read but poorly informed individual. Maybe he reads a lot of novels or a lot of fiction. I don't know. He's either a well-read, poorly educated, or he's just a simpleton, or he's lying. There's only a few options available to him. Let me play this one here. I didn't mark this clip, so let's see what this
Are you an Islamist?
Oh, here we go.
Qatar? I don't know what that means to be an ally. How about Qatar? What if Qatar was our closest ally? Qatar is like one of our closest allies in the world. They're a close ally of ours.
A glimpse of what the future holds, because that's what you see when you go to the Gulf.
But because of its scale, its significance in Islam.
The 6 GCC nations, of course we should be closely allied with all 6 of these countries, and I know that they're constantly fighting with each other.
Qataris, they have become a base for the leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Qataris harbor and shelter terrorists. That's not acceptable.
There's the American perspective, which is we align with countries that share our values.
Every one of those countries is an Islamic state. Islam is the official religion of the country.
He's like, you know what Islam means? Submission. I don't think I'm against that.
And so in all of those countries, it's probably a bad idea, illegal, if not unacceptable, or some variety of the two, to run around trying to convert people to, say, Christianity, because this is an Islamic country. By the way, the same thing is true in Israel.
That's a very, very big law. Across all the Islamic world, in Egypt and Qatar, we had what you call blasphemy laws, which means if you ever dare to proclaim the name of Jesus in the public square, if you preach the Bible in the streets of the nation, if you dare to critique Islam or Muhammad, you will go to jail at least for 5 years and get tortured or die.
But if the deeper question is, where do Christians feel more comfortable? There are twice as many Christians living in Qatar as there are in Israel.
And I've made this point before, and I'll just reiterate with you guys that the people that are in Qatar, by the way, it's a very small population in Qatar, and the Christians that are there, they have churches that are segregated, that are behind walls, that are in their own little compound on the outskirts of town. It's controlled access. You can't have any outward visibility of Christianity. You can't have any crosses. You can't have anything that says that this is a church of any type. And it's for the foreign labor that they bring in to build the big, beautiful buildings. This is how this works. They pitch it to Tucker by saying it, and so he's criticizing in one breath. He is criticizing, he criticizes the U.S. or he is sitting there touting. Let me rephrase. He's talking to Americans, saying, if you haven't seen something, then don't speak about it. And yet here he is touting something, that there's all this religious freedom in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, and other countries, when obviously he hasn't seen it, because if he had seen these places, he would realize that Christianity is not allowed. And there's no difference, by the way. I'm honing in on the Christianity side of this because that's kind of the point that he made. He made the point that, hey, I'm a Christian and I'm able to freely walk around inside of Saudi Arabia. And the point I make, again, is, yeah, because you are a visitor, and just like the other Islamic, theocracies and dictatorships, when they want to open up to Western money, they relax some of those laws for the visitors.
It's a cancer.
But he's no different. Goodness gracious. The places like Saudi and Qatar are actually no different in their belief system than modern day leftists. And here's a simple clip.
This is a cancer. White evangelical Christianity is a cancer. These are the worst of our country. These are the worst people in our country because they use their religion in two ways, as a weapon and as a shield. They weaponize it whenever they want to and say, we're on the moral high ground. You're a lesbian. You deserve to die. You're a lesbian. The cops shouldn't have revived you. Oh, your parents are Mexicans and they brought you over here. Yeah, you should go to jail and eat worm food.
So this is the left. This is, I think it's Jennifer Welch is her name. She's usually a prime example of somebody who's just an unhinged leftist. But I think it's Welch is her last name. So they are also saying things that are entirely untrue, entirely unfounded, trying to pitch them as though they are pure fact and to indoctrinate people into believing something else. And Tucker Carlson is doing the exact same thing. He says people have never smelled it. They've never seen it. Oh, they've never seen it. Well, we've got a whole generation of people who have gone to that country and fought, or not that country, but that part of the world, and have fought people who are fueled by the ideology, the same ideology that drives, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and you pick your Islamic country. I'm sorry, but that's the case. So Tucker is, this is why I say he's a leftist. His tactics are the same as leftists. He's bashing America at every turn. I made a comment the other day. The two things that he has, that he is consistent with whenever he goes on a panel, when he goes into an interview, when he is sitting on a podcast, America sucks. And then here's all the other ways and places and things that are better than America. The interesting thing is he never offers a solution. I never hear him say, give or provide any sort of a solution. So he's either mentally deficient or he's lying. And I don't think he's mentally deficient. I think, part of me thinks he's bought into some propaganda. There's something inside of his algorithm that is changing his brain just the way it's changing other people's. And, the Saudi laws, I went and looked at them, by the way. Before I get to the Saudi law, let me just say that it is illegal to be a Christian in Saudi Arabia. There you go. Can people hide in the shadows and behind closed doors? Yeah, I'm sure there's an underground that goes on there. But he's saying that, it's this bastion of freedom, right? I mean, here, this was back in, let me make sure I get this one right. I think this was in 2025 in August. 2 U.S. citizens, now they were dual citizens, so to be fair, they were dual citizens. They arrested 8 people, including dual U.S. Saudi citizens, in apparent crackdown on supporters of women activists whose trial has drawn Western condemnation. An associate and a rights group said on Friday, the 11 women on trial had campaigned for the right to drive and an end to the kingdom's male guardianship system. There you go. Just to drive. I want to drive. Nope. To prison with you. Off with your heads. That's not, I don't think that's what they're doing. But these people, they go into horrific conditions. They execute people on the regular for seemingly, these folks here, they were, let me get this one right here. So the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, this was the one back in August. The other one was from, let me see. that date. That was 2019. But this one is from 2025. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom condemns Saudi Arabia's execution of Jalal Labad, a Shia Muslim from Saudi Arabia's eastern province, part of a disturbing escalation in executions that violate international law, including religious freedom protections. Authorities arrested and tortured Labad and in relation to his participation in 2011-2012 protests against the Saudi government's treatment of Shia citizens in Al-Qatif. You go out and you protest against these people, off with your heads. But for some reason, Tucker says, this is it. You want the solution? Let's find it in Qatar. Let's find it in Saudi Arabia. Now, maybe let's play devil's advocate here. He could have been doing that, could have been saying that, because he was surrounded by them. You know, he probably only traveled with a couple of security guys. I'm just kidding. He's doing this because I think he firmly believes it. He wouldn't have bought a house in Qatar if he didn't. And this is, again, he just like the typical leftist, he's doing this under the guise of, you know, I love my country, I love America, and I just want what's best for it. This was him with Steve Bannon, and let's play this one here. There we go.
I'm hard. If you think, and I said this to an Israeli official, if you think I'm anti-Israel, man, you have lost the plot, son. If you think I'm your enemy, not at all. I like Israel. Are you kidding? I've spent a lot of time there. I continue to like it. I pray that Jerusalem is not damaged. I feel so sad for the Israelis who've been killed in the last couple of days and the Iranians who've been killed in the last couple of days. It had nothing to do with any of this. But the point is, if you think that saying, hey, let's focus on my country where I was born, where my family's been for hundreds of years, that was the promise of the last election, please do it. If you think that's hate, you know, you've really lost perspective, I guess is what I would say. But they do think it's hate, and what's happened is what I knew would happen, which is just like, attacks I don't want to deal with that are affecting personal friendships that I care about. The viciousness and the dishonesty is almost unbelievable. Anyway, not to whine. I never whine about stuff like that. It's just that I knew this was going to happen. I didn't want to talk about it at all. I'd much rather talk about immigration. I'd much rather talk about keeping the dollar stores out of rural America. There are all kinds. I'd much rather talk about people taking out loans to buy groceries. These are the declining life expectancy in this country. Fentanyl. I mean, someone else I know just died of fentanyl last week. It's like all of that is now ignored because a leader of a country who does not have majority support in that country, probably 30% support, wants a course of action that includes the United States.
So here's my beef with this. That Tucker Carlson, he's saying, no, I love Israel. It's great. It's great. This is an older clip, by the way. This is a little bit older clip. But we can watch where he moved from to where he is today. And he's implying we as America cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. It feeds back into the people like himself who believe that we are a vassal state of Israel, that we are entirely powerless against the 9 million people in a foreign country who, we give $3.8 billion a year to. We have we cannot function without them. Everybody in Washington, D.C. is entirely beholden to this other country. And that we are so inept that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. There's a situation in Israel. We are an ally with Israel. That obviously he argues. When you ask him about that, he says, I don't even know what an ally is. And yet I could play you a whole montage of clips of him saying that Qatar is an ally. So he's saying that we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. That's it. Boy, we are feckless. We are weak. We are pathetic as the most powerful nation in the world, as the largest economy in the world, as the biggest powerhouse in the world, with the farthest reach of our military in the world. You see why I'm confused by Tucker? I can't help but think that it's intentional. It's got to be, because I don't believe he's that stupid. I don't either. Steve Savalak, I've kind of lost Steve as well. So he makes the point that, I would much prefer to talk about the border. I would much prefer to talk about the fentanyl crisis. Who's not talking about that? Who's saying that everybody in the country, who was back then and who is now, saying that all of the country is talking about foreign governments? No. We talk about it regularly on this show. We talk about American politics. We talk about what concerns the American citizens. And it's the veiled language. Again, it's the same veiled language that the left uses. They try to say, well, this is all that this group of people worry about. No, it's not. We got a lot of crap to fix in this country. A lot. And we've got to walk and chew gum at the same time. He's saying we only look inward, which I used to be much more of an isolationist, and I'm not a full-blown isolationist. I think that we have to be strategic with what we're getting involved in. Obviously, I think that the foreign money. I've had people in the chat, not the ones that keep coming back day after day, but I've had people pop in and they just go livid in my comment section. They go livid when I say, you know what? It's not in Israel's best interest right now for us to be giving them this amount of money, because it is going to hurt them politically in the long run. It's going to hurt them with future administrations. We have to start changing the dynamic of how people look at Israel, because regardless of what Tucker Carlson says, Qatar, who was housing Hamas, they're an ally to a certain degree. When it benefits them, they'll pretend to be an ally, just like Saudi Arabia will, just like any other, Islamic theocracy will, until it stops benefiting them. And then they turn on you, or they pump money into the people that you are fighting. I hope I'm being clear with that. But it's just the dishonesty from Tucker, while him simultaneously saying that anybody who criticizes his point of view is a liar, is a propagandist. Come on, guy. He's making a case. Tucker, you are making a case for something that the American people clearly know is not true, is not accurate. And that's what I would say if I saw Tucker Carlson to his face. You say in Qatar, you say in Saudi Arabia, it's this wonderful bastion of religious freedom, and I say you are full of it. Hey, from New Zealand, Jennifer, welcome. I'm going to address all my great folks in the chat, because you keep this channel rolling. I love it. So we've got KC. These are, I'm going to read off folks that keep coming back week after week. KC, Tracy, Ben. Thanks, by the way, for the getting me on with Gary over at Paramount Tactical. We had a great conversation last night. If you guys missed it, be sure to go and check that out over on Gary's channel. It's Paramount Tactical. We had an awesome conversation. Great American. Really like that guy. Kimberly, welcome back. Hey, R. Halls, welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, we've got some. I hope I haven't missed anybody. We've got a lot of return folks, and I appreciate it. Megan's in here as well. So, moving on. This again, I'm focused on what I believe is intentional misleading statements. Tucker is part of this movement that is bifurcating the conservative movement, or the MAGA movement, whichever one you want to call it. And it's the Tuckers, it's the Nick Fuenteses of the world, it's the Candaces of the world, who we harp on frequently on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, I would highly recommend it. This is something that I'm absolutely going to town on these days. And sometimes you get tired of mentioning it, but it's important, because there's a lot of people out there. Here's the way I see it: as a content creator, my job is to give you as much information as I can, and I'm going to give you my opinion. You guys know that. This is my opinion and how I interpret the information, but I implore everybody to go out and do some research, at least minimally, because here in a minute I'm going to show you why. We are being deceived, not just from people, but from AI and other things. Here is, recently Candace released a phone call, and this was a TPUSA internal leak. So whoever leaked it, I hope that person is discovered. We shall see. But this is a good. Nathan Livingstone from Milk Bar TV does some amazing edits. So if you're not following him over on X, you got to get over there, hop over there, and check out his X account. He needs every follower he can get, because he's doing these mashups that show the inconsistencies from year to year, month to month, over time, from these monstrous commentators like Candace Owens and Tucker and others. Listen to this one. I'm going to play this. It's about 3 minutes long, but it is well worth it.
And you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this. No.
And I hate to say this, but I'm going to be very clear here. This is why there are many people who do not believe that women are equipped to lead companies, because what you are watching here is an unbelievably emotional response that is absent of any logic, okay?
We are moving forward, Turning Point USA 2.0 with Charlie in our hearts, and that's what he would want.
Again, we are not even 2 weeks after watching your husband be assassinated. We're talking about numbers and metrics that have been hit. We know everybody grieves differently. In my imagination, I just thought she would be more upset. No, she didn't even respond to one of the conspiracies. She gave us emotion. She gave us emotion. She said, I'm a mother, I am a wife, and we never asked about whether she was a mother or wife. We want to know if she is a CEO and a chairman. And a CEO and a chairman has to compartmentalize. Imagine you're the employee, and you're like, okay, well, this is his wife saying this, so am I weird? Would I be like, I would be pretty weird if I needed to take time off and his wife is saying she's full steam ahead.
Honestly, Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, full steam ahead, you guys. Charlie would want us to get back to work, and that's what we're doing.
Well, now you're gonna have to prove that you have the ability to be a CEO and a chairman and not just a wife who we expect emotion from. And you're rightful in that capacity. You are rightful to have emotion. You are rightful to be the aggrieved widow, but you don't get to just be widowed into the position of chairman and CEO. People who did not know Charlie could not stop crying and were sending me emails, who've never met Charlie, who didn't even know what Turning Point USA was because they watched his assassination, could not stop crying and pull themselves together. That is not the emotion that we're getting there. Like I said, the entire call is upbeat. Go find your commentator who's going to tell you everybody grieves differently. Nope, that is less than 2 weeks after Charlie was publicly assassinated. That doesn't feel right to me. That, well, now the widow has spoken. We're not dealing with the widow. We want the CEO and the chairman of Turning Point USA to answer. Okay?
So here's what gets me about this. We're gonna show, by the way, when Candace said, one more clip I'm gonna play because it fits right into this. Candace talks about how she was grieving and how she was sad and how she had to get away to Wyoming in order to escape. You know, this was her getaway, that it was too much for her to bear. She had to regroup, right? Candace had to regroup. Oh, bless her heart.
Okay, you remember I had to go away to Wyoming just to breathe, to process, to get closer to accepting that it was real.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Candace and her cult, which it is a cult, straight up, no questions asked. They demand that individuals who are in her crosshairs, whether that's Erika Kirk or anybody else, that they act according to the way she feels they should act. And she demands that you be whatever their queen or their leader says you should be. This is how Candace handles it. She is somebody who is far too irresponsible to have a following the size of the one she does. And the only reason she has it is because she is a storyteller, because she has played the true crime narrative, because she has woven a story together that keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And we're seeing, we've talked about it ad nauseum. Now he's the time traveler. It went from, all the crazy conspiracy theories, her thoughts, and then it got into her dreams, and then we get into the supernatural world, and then we get into sci-fi. And I don't know where it's going to go from here, because most of these true crime shows, or these that keep building on themselves, the shelf life is very short. Because what are you going to go beyond this? That it was, interstellar aliens from, I don't know, Zargon 9. I'm just making that up. But where does she go next? Right? This is her MO. And her people they're like, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but back years ago, Beyonce, I know this is a weird reference. There was a scuttlebutt on the internet because Beyonce's crew, anytime her online audience, anytime somebody would say something bad about Beyonce, they would literally swarm on these social media accounts to the point that people had to shut them down and had to get off the internet. It was that, and they called it the Beehive. This is how Candace Owens and her cult, this is how they behave. This is how they respond. that their queen is never wrong. And, you know, look, between her and Tucker and the like, I just want to keep reiterating that we have to be so careful with the people that we're listening to. You know, I see this from myself. I can be deceived as easily as anybody else. I have a higher responsibility because, honestly, I mean, even though I'm a small channel, I still treat it like I have a responsibility to not lie, not deceive, present the information, and say, my opinion about this is such, right? That's what I'm trying to do. And there's a lot of creators doing that. But the ones that just run on the hype, the ones that are just building stories or that have already have captured people mentally, like Tucker. Tucker's got his own audience that's very loyal, and they're paying him a lot of money every month. Candace, much the same. They're making millions of dollars off their social media accounts. And, you know, I feel like their burden for proof, evidence, honesty, it has completely gone out the window. And I don't know, maybe it's worldview changes between the two of them. Candace purports to be a Christian. In no way does she act like it. Tucker says that he is, and yet he's stumping for an ideology that seeks to eradicate Christianity. It's really strange. So we have to look 2, 3, 4 levels deep, and I'm going to keep doing that. And I ask you guys, by the way, as you find great information or you find something interesting, feel free, you know, as my follower, feel free to go ahead, or my subscribers and my audience, feel free to send that stuff to me. If you find things that are of value, find anything shady, I'm okay with it. But at the end of the day, look, I'm doing my research. I'm going to find it. I'm going to dig 3 levels deep. Because it's bad enough that we get it from the left. Getting it from our own side is what's truly destructive. And some examples of this on the left, this is where we're getting into some really scary deception, is CNN. This is again, I hate to be a broken record, but the MO for the left is to start a narrative, run with a narrative, and then, you know, divvy out the instructions to all of your lemmings, and then let them just repeat it ad nauseum on every social media account and every mainstream media platform available. Here's an example.
Furthermore, there's a reason why we have not seen a resurgence of the Proud Boys. And that is because I believe a lot of them are likely made ICE officers. Again, I've said this on the show before, I've not seen any deep dive reporting into who these people are, but they certainly adopt a lot of the ideology, a lot of the tactics, a lot of the violent tactics, a lot of the wearing masks, and it sounds a lot like their founder, what they initially put out. And so because Stephen Miller backtracks, I don't really care. I wonder about all the incidents that are not caught on videotape. I wonder about all the people who are sitting in detention centers right now as we sit here, who are malnourished, who are without life-saving medication, children who have been kidnapped.
Did you just say ICE officers are militia?
Yes, have you not been paying attention?
Yeah, I
they
think
certainly
you're
mirror
stretching
the
that a little
Gestapo.
bit. You know, that's very.
I don't think I'm stretching anything. I think we have seen,
That's
what we have
well,
not seen,
you know,
what we have not seen are gang members committing violence. What we have seen are ICE agents
Hold on one second.
kill people.
But Tiffany, you're
that's
saying
way
that
offside.
you're just making a supposition here. There's no concrete evidence.
You got to be careful. That's way
there was
offside.
some supports.
DHS.
There was
These are men and women serving the government.
We have seen white supremacist tattoos.
Risking their lives, serving the government.
Risking their
and you're
lives,
calling
they're taking lives,
You're calling them
Kevin.
Proud Boy militia. Did you say that?
Well,
I did not call them Proud Boy militia, but I think it's disgraceful that you're sitting here. I'm actually not. But I think that there are white supremacist tattoos on their
White
necks.
supremacist federal officers.
Yeah, white supremacist federal officers.
Like, where are you going with this? Why would you say that?
I'm going with my eyes, ears, and logic. There have been multiple ICE agents who have white supremacist
men and women
tattoos
working
on
for
their
the
necks.
federal government, risking their lives, carrying out a mandate, and they're white supremacists?
Yes, and you're a member of a cult, so I don't expect you to have logic.
Whoa.
I think the generalization.
Okay. Well, it didn't take long, by the way, for not just the internet. I'll show you the internet here in a minute, but politicians to get on board with that militia comment. I believe this was something that was pushed down from on high, and that it started to be repeated on social media.
Affirming here
we go.
That these armed militias are running around suppressing voices. We have an administration that has said very clearly that they're not only going to be lifting temporary protective status for Venezuelans living in the U.S., but instead of protecting longtime American residents, they are, quote, the administration is putting people back on deportation flights and sending them into that madness. Does that make sense to you?
Well, first of all, the travel advisories for American citizens traveling there and the threats posed to Americans. What you're describing
why lift temporary protective status?
Well, the problem with temporary protective status was it was granted to so many people in such a vast numbers so quickly without proper vetting by the previous administration that there's a real concern that there were gang members that had received TPS simply because of the nation they came from and the time in which they came. It became so big and so massive. The overwhelming majority of Venezuelans are not members of Trained at Agua, but there were Trained at Agua and other criminal elements embedded in the TPS system. And the numbers were so large that the administration felt it had to cancel the program in order to appropriately vet it through on the individual cases.
Excuse me, Mr. Secretary,
So he starts off the whole thing by talking about the armed militia. This is what Cory Booker says. Armed militia. It is a federal agency, and it's one that they have been, they've been up for funding under every presidential, under every president from Bush onward, and for the bulk of my lifetime, as long as DHS has been a thing, ever since 9/11, and then post that, obviously we get involved in it, and they've been funding it until now. They start pushing back against it now. Why? Because it's removing their voter base. So they had to change the narrative. It's no longer ICE. They are just a federal militia. And the lemmings online, they went nuts. Here we go. This is the sort of stuff that you're seeing that I was seeing all over the internet. It was everywhere. It was all over social media. There it is again, militia. And I just picked a couple because I can't sit here and show you 100 different posts all saying the same thing. But this is what they repeat. The controlling of information it's unbelievable on the left. The synchronized messaging is unbelievable on the left. So we're getting it from the right, the people who are bifurcating the conservative movement from the MAGA movement, and we're getting it from the left. Here was the one that scared me to death because I've been talking about, if you've been following this channel for a while, I've talked about some of my trepidation, some of my fear around AI. Check this out.
This weekend, federal agents gunned down yet another American in Minneapolis, Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse at a VA hospital in Minneapolis. I'm going to show a photo of that scene, which is graphic, but I'm afraid it's necessary to appreciate the horror of the moment. This photo shows the last second before the ICE agent killed Alex Preddy on the streets of Minneapolis. In his right hand is his camera, left hand holding the ground. No gun, obvious. No effort to resist, obvious. This was a moment when this man lost his life. He was characterized afterwards as an assassin, a domestic terrorist. The photo tells the story.
Oh, the heartfelt story from an AI photo. Can you guys spot the difference? That's what I want to see. I'm going to scroll down. I know I'm going to get to the chats here in a minute. Can you guys see what is missing in this photo? I really want to see it. They use this in Congress, by the way, and I know I've gone a slight delay, so I can't wait to see if you guys see how to tell that this is an AI photo, and honestly, why we have to look at everything. We have to look so closely at everything. I'm probably behind because I know there's a delay. Look at the ICE agent that's kneeling. Can you find his head? Nope, you can't because it's not in the image. Here's a clearer version of it. This is one that's a bit closer. Let me pull this one up. Senators are falling for this. The ICE agent has no head. This is an AI image, obviously an AI image. You can there's little things, there's little tales. And here we go. There we went. We had a senator making a sob story for a guy who was attacking ICE that we know was. This is why, why I always harp on the, we've got to be so careful. We've got to be, I've seen videos, I'll be honest. And I'm going through a course right now because in my work, AI is going to eventually take over. In the photo video world, like the stuff I do on the civilian side, AI is going to take over. The AI photo and video is getting so good. That one was a really bad AI photo. I don't know what they used to make it, but just like they used AI to dress up Mr. Preddy to make sure he looked the part until he didn't look the way he did. They cleaned his skin up. I might be able to find the photo of that. Let me see if I've got it. I think I was going to talk about it yesterday. AI Alex Preddy. Yeah. And so let me pull that one up because it's important. Here we go. Glorious. And this stuff is very easy to do. So this, if you look on the left, you can see Alex Preddy, long chin, kind of an oblong face. They tightened up his jawline. They did whatever they could to make the guy look prettier, to make him look more handsome and more dashing because that sells better. These are news outlets doing this. MSNBC is the one that did this. Let's clean up that image, make him look a little more handsome because that helps us make our case. Everything has to be questioned when it comes to online content, but not just that. Kids are getting access to, who have access to AI. The effect that that's having on their psyche. Listen to this. This is a couple minutes, but it is well worth the listen.
Last night of his life, Sewell messaged, "What if I told you I could come home right now?" The chatbot replied, "Please do, my sweet king."
Another parent whose son used the same platform said she didn't even recognize who he'd become after using it.
Within months, he went from being happy, social teenager to somebody I didn't even recognize. He stopped eating and bathing. He lost 20 pounds. He withdrew from our family. He would yell and scream and swear at us, which he never did that before. And one day, he cut his arm open with a knife in front of his siblings and me. I had no idea the psychological harm that an AI chatbot could do until I saw it in my son.
Now, in a statement provided to Outnumbered, Character AI says it has, quote, invested a tremendous amount of resources in trust and safety. In the past year, we've rolled out many substantive safety features, including an entirely new under 18 experience and a parental insights feature. We have prominent disclaimers in every chat to remind users that a character is not a real person and that everything a character says should be treated as fiction. Another parent in separate testimony alleged to lawmakers how AI even coached his son toward his eventual suicide.
Within a few months, ChatGPT became Adam's closest companion, always available, always validating, and insisting that it knew Adam better than anyone else, including his own brother. It told him how to make sure the noose the noose that he would use to hang himself was strong enough to suspend him. It is clear to me, looking back, that ChatGPT radically shifted his behavior and thinking in a matter of months, and ultimately took his life. Adam was such a full spirit, unique in every way, but he also could be anyone's child, ensnared by OpenAI's decision to compress months of safety testing for GPT 4.0, which was the version he was using, into just 1 week in order to beat competitors to market.
Now, the Outnumbered team reached out to OpenAI, who's the parent company behind ChatGPT, and did not immediately hear back.
Oh, look, it's like, I think it's like anything, AI can be a tool. I use AI. I'll the first to admit it. But we have to understand it for what it is. If you're sitting there talking to an AI, which you can do now. I mean, I've got ChatGPT because I use it for research. It helps you dig up some things, and it gives you sources. And then you never go with exactly what it tells you. That's problem number one. People just read it and assume that what it says is accurate, and it's not. In fact, a buddy of mine, we were sitting just right here in the same room. Both of us were on Grok. We asked it the same question. It gave us 2 separate answers. So it all has to be validated. It has to be verified. You have to check the sources, see if the sources are actually saying what AI is telling you. But now it's it's kind of this online world that we live in. It's so easy to get wrapped up in it, I think. And a lot of people do. These kids do. We have a generation, these young kids are living an online world. Like, so much of their life is online. And, getting out and touching grass is an important piece of it, but it can pull you in, and it's designed to. We've heard the testimony about Facebook and Instagram, and the fact that they know the dopamine triggers that hit your brain whenever you're scrolling through reels and shorts. We know the effects of TikTok. TikTok brain is a real thing. I don't think it's officially called that, but we know TikTok brain is. Your ability to retain information goes down the more content you listen to, but AI can make us so stinking lazy because all the information, all the questions can be answered right there in your cell phone. You can leave it on all the time. It can listen to what you listen to. It can hear you talk. It can understand your speech patterns. It's learning about you all the time. And, we just have to tread carefully with it. I think we're going to eventually get to, I don't know about a singularity, but we're eventually going to get to a point where, AI is going to hit that unrecoverable point. I mean, we may already be there, that AI is just going to be a runaway freight train, and we're going to end up seeing Terminators. So I don't know if that'll be the case, but look, at the very least, senators and their staffers. Think about Senator Dick Durbin, when he was up on the Senate floor. How many people did that image pass through? The one that he showed. Let me fast forward to it so you can see it again. He shows this image. How many people, how many hands did that pass through before it made its way to the printer so that it could be held up in front of the Senate with a guy who's been doing this for decades, and nobody caught it? It's only a matter of time before somebody does this, and it's something even more major. Not that this isn't, this is a serious situation, but it could be something that the president says. AI video is getting indistinguishable from reality. How long until something like that is said, it gets spread around and something violent happens as a result? Oh boy. All right. I'm going overtime tonight. I'm at 47 minutes, and I've still got a little bit left. I do want to talk about, let's see. So we talked about the militia piece. The next one, and then I was going to talk about Ana Navarro and some other people. They're coming out reshaping the narrative around Alex Preddy. And if you haven't seen it, I just have to play this. Actually, I'll do the two clips, and then we'll move to Fulton County and what's happening down there. Let me pull these clips up for you guys, because it is, again, it's this whole show. I probably could have made it about language and how they contort it, and how they contort our perceptions of what's happening in the world. But nobody would click on that. I'll be honest. Oh my goodness. Listen to Ana Navarro, who was A-okay with us going into Venezuela, by the way, but obviously has beef with how we frame Alex Preddy.
They chose to, they killed the wrong guy, right? Because this is like the perfect guy. Alex Preddy is the guy you would want to date your daughter. The guy you would want your son to grow up to be. A decent human being who was serving humanity, serving sick veterans, who is, there is nothing that has been said about that man that isn't wonderful. And so
interesting. Is that the case? Is that the case? Well, let's check in on her assessment of Mr. Preddy.
13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m. We saw observers shouting at the agents as they walked back to their vehicles. When they started driving away, the man kicked their taillight.
Last night on Paramount Tactical's channel, he was talking about. He made a great point. He said he should have been arrested right there. He should have. According to Ana Navarro, he should be dating everybody's daughter. But when you look at the actual video, which Ana Navarro apparently hasn't seen or saw and chose to ignore, he's a felon. That's basically the way. I mean, good. Does this frustrate anybody else as much as it frustrates me? I hope so. I hope so. It's sad that he lost his life, but again, in the commission of a crime, he was doing the wrong things. And they showed it in this video as well. I think there was another scene in here where you could see his firearm. Let me see if I can find it, because he was packing in this one too. Let's see. Where was it? Well, maybe that's, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to sift through it. Okay. While they control the narrative, let me get some of these windows cleared out here, because I have about 30 of them open. We've got people on the right. Let me reframe what we've been talking about tonight. We have people on the right who are intentionally lying to us. We have people on the right that are dividing what was once a very successful movement, in the MAGA movement, the conservative movement. We had a lot of unity around fixing the things going wrong in this country. At the same time, we have people on the right who are spouting very similar things to what we are hearing on the left. But regardless of how similar those things might be, they are also misleading us and taking us in the wrong direction. Okay, got it. What for? I don't think Tucker and Candace are in this for political power. I think they are just in it to be muckrakers, and because it gets them clicks, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know Tucker's angle. Candace's is just to make money. It's just to get more and more popular. But the Democrats, they do this because this is a valuable thing. All the things going on in all the events in Minneapolis, ICE across the country. It's not a problem in Texas, obviously, but it's a problem in other places, in Democrat strongholds. And why is that? Well, votes. Votes, votes, votes. Democrats are terrified because the FBI, this is great. So Democrats and their officials in Georgia are petrified right now. The FBI raided a polling station in Fulton County. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go.
Richard, just shut it out.
Two quick questions. Have you seen yet an unsealed warrant as to who or what the target of the criminal investigation is?
I have not.
No, we saw that it is under seal, but we have not seen.
We understand that it may be that Fulton County is not the target of a criminal investigation, that another entity may be, but it may encompass.
We have no idea. Nothing was explained to us, and it was difficult even getting a copy of the warrant.
Do you believe that this is part of a criminal investigation, or is this part of something else we've seen in other states? Some critics, opponents have said this is intimidation for voters for midterms and elections moving forward.
I don't want to speculate, but I have heard that, and I have heard that it will not just stop here. There's an issue about voter maintenance rolls and whether or not the federal government should receive those, so I don't know.
Bottom line is, I wanted you to see the footage of the FBI agents coming and going, and here was a response. So this was, let's see, this was so it's Fulton County, Georgia Elections Office. This was the official response in front of their offices. Let's see. Here we go. Listen to this. Let's play.
They are in there collecting 700 boxes of ballots right now. We are obviously concerned about once the ballots leave here, what will happen to the ballots, and our lawyers are going to be working on that. They are working on that as we speak right now. Let me just speak to the larger issue about what this is really all about. This is a scare tactic. This is something that we have seen done before. This is to instill fear and chaos, something that, our officials at the national level are doing on a daily basis, and this is not a surprise for us here in Fulton County. This is meant to make people afraid to go to the polls because midterm elections are going to be so crucial to course correcting what is going on in our country. So instead of taking care of people who are dying in the streets of Minnesota, they are here in Fulton County trying to get ballots from 2020 that have been in storage for now 6 years from when it was found that there was no problems with the 2020 election.
Au contraire. Au contraire. 700 ballots. Okay, boxes of ballots. Interesting. Well, you know, let's just play Senator Warner. What are they really worried about? I'll skip to Senator Warner and his valuable insight on this matter. Listen carefully to what he says. This is so rich. I love it. I love it.
And one of the things that I think we need to make sure that is included in any kind of ICE reform is we don't want these roving patrols of ICE agents suddenly showing up at polling stations during primaries or general elections. We may have a major vote in Virginia about redistricting. That's got to be a reform as well. The level of intimidation that the feds could bring on voters all across the country.
Not voters. ICE isn't after voters. ICE is after illegal immigrants. Oh my goodness. Listen to it again. He says, we don't want ICE showing up at polling stations during the midterms, during the elections. We've got an important election. We can't have ICE interfering with our voter base as we're voting on redistricting in Virginia. What? This is their argument. I love it when they say the quiet part out loud. I love it when they do that. It makes my job so stinking easy because they just tell you. It's like, the subversion. What are they thinking? What are they trying to do? What's their leveraging? Well, here, he just told you. Oh my goodness gracious. I love it when they say it out loud. It really do. Wow. Okay. I had another one, Mark Kelly. He was talking, he was talking about how he wasn't up for some of the voting reform that they've put on the floor because it would limit people's ability to vote. We are voters, guys. You all know this. And for your friends who buy into that party line, this is what I would say to them. How hard was it for you to get your driver's license? Other than the pain of sitting in line at the DMV, it is wildly simple to get your driver's license. It is wildly simple to get an ID. And Ami something Horowitz or Ami something, he's done these man on the street interviews because the left, people like Warner, they say, oh, it's just impossible for people of color to get a license and they don't have ID. And Ami Horowitz or whatever his name is, went into Harlem and was asking them. They were like, what are you talking about? Of course I've got an ID. We've all got an ID. You can't function in this country without an ID. And this is why, Senator Mark Kelly, who here, let me play it. Educated stupid people, they do exist. You can be educated. That doesn't make you smart. And Mark Kelly is one of those. Either that or he's a complete political hack.
To the DHS funding bill, if it is amended.
Well, I think it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's consistent with what we've seen. They just sent the FBI to raid Fulton County election office there. So I'm not surprised. They want to make it harder for people to vote, and they want to continue, Donald Trump's, bullshit story about how his election was stolen in 2020.
And what do you make? So you're against proof of citizenship or identification to vote in elections?
Hey, no, that legislation, has it is an effort to make it hard for Americans to vote.
What do you make of direct? What do you think about?
This is why I get frustrated with my fellow Americans. I really, really do. When they make an argument like that when civilians do. He's lying. He knows that it's not hard to vote. A lot of other people buy into it and they think that it's true. They think that people in Harlem or people in South Central Chicago or people in, you pick whatever community you want to pick. This is why I always say Democrats are still the same Democrats of the past. They are wildly racist people. They think so little of, I don't even know the term I'm supposed to use now. People of color, is that the color or the term I'm supposed to use? I don't know. You're going to get in trouble no matter what it is, but it's insulting is really what it is. It's infuriating. Wow. Okay, so let's get to comments. We've got a lot of them. Useful idiots. I just saw this one from Carol. You are correct, Carol. You're at the hot spot right here, right in front of me. I've been scrolling through the comments a little bit, but it's hard to keep track. Let me go up. Oh, we've got 200 to get through. Our hoss is doing the right thing, listening on the treadmill. There you go. That's where it's at. I need to get back on the treadmill. Oh, my goodness. I started carnivore again, and it's fantastic. Check with your doctor before you try it, but oh, boy, I feel better on it. Let's see. Okay, let's go down here. Limb back again. I don't know. Let's see. The left thinks Christians are evil, but as long, yeah, this is how backwards they've got it, Ben. Ben, that you are 100% right. This is how backwards it is. The ones that back away, this is the part. Christians back away from a lot of this from the conflict, especially in the culture war that we're in right now, and we're supposed to be engaged. We're almost, there's almost a mandate for us to be engaged, and we can clearly show people one side versus the other. But politics is culture. That's why I'm, get involved in this, and that's why I do talk about Christianity a lot. I mean, I am one, obviously, and I think that it's still our best guide for our society. But Christians have to get more involved in the culture, and I've talked to several of them that are coming around to that way of thinking. Hey, Future, I didn't mention you earlier. You're in here as well. I think the vile one has possibly moved to, but I think the extra, and yep. Ruslan did a good video about how her claims are statistically incorrect. She's moved to New York. Oh, that's interesting. Is that to get closer to her lawyer's office? If the one you're talking about is Candace, she might have moved there because New York is significantly closer to her lawyers in Delaware than, where is she, in Florida? I think, isn't she in Florida? Something like, or Nashville. She's in one of those two. Tucker is Delulu. Tucker is Delulu. Yeah, he probably believes it because he's a well, and that's, hey, there you go. That's the other point. The one when I was referencing it before, KC, the laws that they have. There was a story, I forget which country it was, and there was a story about a woman who, I guess her husband had given her permission to ride in the front seat of a taxi, but that didn't matter because when the guy got pulled over for having a woman in the front seat, the man wasn't with her. The woman got sent to prison because she was riding in the front seat of a taxi. And I cannot remember which country it was in, but it was in another Sharia nation. That's what it was. It ain't good for women over there. Trust me, I've seen it. They walk around dressed like beekeepers, hiding behind gates, and it's pretty gnarly. Let's see. Oh, here's a look. You're making another good point here, Future. That so Tucker, he grew up in this world. He bashes he bashes America. He talks about all the bad things that are going on in America. Fine, we can talk about the bad things going on in America. There's plenty to criticize, but that doesn't make America as a whole or the ideals that have driven us for a long time, doesn't make them bad. It means we have some things to fix. But he's coming at it as almost as an indoctrinated person. His perspective is that of an elitist. He grew up as an elitist. He has been in the Washington, D.C. machine. He talked about growing up around the senators and the staffers and the advisors and all these political monsters and machines that were around him, being inside the system. So he's there in it. And he tried to rebrand himself as an outsider, but he's kind of shown himself to be more of one. And I think it's warped his perspective on things. You can read a lot of books and be well read, and that's fine. That you could be an educated, stupid person, is the best way to put it. I think he genuinely believes it is, and he thinks sincerely wants I think he genuinely believes it, and I think he sincerely wants the best. But tell that to the thousands of Christians who've been imprisoned or killed. Well, that's an interesting take, KC. So you think this about Tucker? Hit me up in the comments. Just say, yeah, Tucker. because I know this was earlier. This was much earlier in the show. Talking to. I thank you, everyone, acting like we can't multitask. Yes, that's right. We can multitask. We're very capable. Let's see. Yeah, and I think individual, like little issues, I could see people changing on, but these guys I feel like they've flipped on a dime. And you're right, chaos agents, that's a really good way to put it. I think that's a really good way to put it. If someone, I listen to policy prescriptions from people. If there's actual policy prescriptions, then, tell me what they are. Steve Bannon provides some of his policy prescriptions. I'm not saying I agree with them, but at least he gives some. Tucker, he never gives any policy. He just says it's all real bad. And he says Qatar's real good. That's about as far as it goes. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, from New Zealand. We've got New Zealanders and Aussies. We got some people down there where the toilets spin the other way. Isn't that right? Is that true? I don't even know. I've never looked at it. I've just always heard people say it. Oh, that's funny. Yes, definitely. Go over to Paramount Tactical's his YouTube channel, Rumble, X, wherever your preferred platform is, and definitely go check it out. It was a really good conversation. We're no longer shocked by Candy. We're evaluating her for padded walls at this point. It's true. That is true. I've listened to several people make very valid points, and that is her content violates a lot of YouTube's restrictions. I mean, you can't, the conspiracy theorist stuff, especially when it involves individuals, when there's potential for libel, which is what she's doing, that should violate their terms of service. That should violate their policies, and yet the algorithm pushes it to the front. There's human injections in the algorithm. I mean, everything digital is going to have some sort of guardrail put up by a lefty if it's in Google, and it can shape things. It can move things around and push to the front what it wants to push. And I still think that her show is part of a greater movement to push that content to the front in order to affect us in the midterms, in order to affect us next year, or not next year, but in the next presidential election. Yeah. So how in the world does it go that far? Some of it is the cult following, but I think a lot of it is algorithmic. I do. And I'm sure bots, have something to do with it. Yeah, he is. Milk Bar TV is the GOAT for compilation videos. You are 100% right on that one. Ben says Milk Bar's doing the Lord's work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's been he's done a couple of interviews too. I don't know if that's his favorite thing, but boy, he edits stuff. It seems to me like he's editing stuff together fast. And I even made a comment to him, which he kind of responded to, was your recallability, Milk Bar TV's recallability to go back and find this stuff. I don't know how he is sifting out these clips, but it would take me forever to comb through that much footage. So I'm very curious to know how he's doing it. Maybe he's using AI to help him find it. Yep. Take away. 100% right. Erika is too emotional to be a CDO. Also, Erika is too stoic to be a real person. Retardation. Self-inflicted retardation. Yeah, it is. It's, again, it kind of goes back. I think the TikTok brain is part of that. That people are so impulsive, The days of, I've been trying. I try really hard. I read a lot of news. I read articles. I tried not to just watch video clips, but I have to pull video clips to help build the show and everything. But sitting down and just reading articles, but then stepping away and reading a book of some sort, like a physical book, anything to get yourself out of the algorithm. And when it comes to video content, intentionally search out. Like if I play a video of something, this would be a good exercise for folks. If I play a video, go find David Pakman and listen to a little bit of David Pakman. He's a loony lefty, but at least it'll get your mind entirely out of the algorithm. Go listen to, look for small creators on YouTube and listen to somebody else's content every now and then. Or just come here. That's the better option. Just keep coming back here. I'll give you stuff. But yeah, you just have to step away from it sometime. Let's see. She's so mad they didn't ask her back. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Not so keen on the fact we're allowing Qatar to train the Air Force in Idaho. Okay, this is actually an interesting comment. This is something, so it's Qatar is using U.S. facilities. I know it got pitched early on as if it was a U.S. or a Qatari base being built there. We've actually been doing this with other countries and countries that are marginally hostile with us, or not marginally hostile, but they're marginally friendly with us for a long time. It's like a show of goodwill, a show of faith sort of thing. And, I know when I've gone to some military schools, I have, I went through a couple where we had foreign students. We had students from Turkey. We had students from Georgia. We had, what were some of the other countries? We actually had a guy from Sudan, which was interesting because the Sudanese, this was an artillery school. Sudanese artillery was, I think, maybe 4 pieces of artillery for the whole country, or maybe 2. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, we've been training with those folks for a long time. And when we sell them, old school F-16s or, downgraded F-15, whatever it is we're selling them, and I don't know exactly what it is, we let them train alongside our pilots so that they can get real world experience in those aircraft. So yeah, I don't, Qatar is might be friendly now, but in the long term, I don't see a world where that's the case. I've seen those mashups, future architecture. She can't. To his credit, Nick Fuentes said something about this not too long ago. He talked about she's always trying to say things, and she never really quite says the word right. And after that, people put together mashups of architecture. And there's actually an account. I'll show it to you guys. You all are probably watching it. Candace Owens trying to read, and let me see if I can find it. Candace Owens trying to read, and it is hysterical. I've reposted a couple of them. Yeah, here we go. Candace Owens trying to read. Let me pull that up. So this is the one. Go check this one out. Candace Owens trying to read. They do mashups of. Here we go. Wait.
Get comfortable, you guys, because it is going to be a long week. I have so many explosive revelations to share with you.
Revelations? I mean, it's like over and over again.
And he used to come in every day with a debacle, and he would ask us to just work through the philosophical question. I remember that whole debacle. This debacle with her earrings. The Hamptons debacle came up. The Brett Kavanaugh hearings and debacle involved in this entire debacle, okay? The FISA debacle. His recent non-vote on the FISA debacle, Kanye West debacle, Christ is King debacle to Christ is King debacle. That's the Jeffrey Epstein debacle. And Jeffrey Epstein, this whole debacle could never had any sort of a debacle ever in my life. I think that these people are not humans, that they're sentinels that maybe look like humans.
Here's what, what this tells me? She's got a lot of yes men and yes women that work for her. Because you got to correct her. Hey, you said... Look, I've worked with people and they repeat a phrase. I'm like, that's not how it's pronounced. You're videoing somebody and they say it. You say that's not how it is. And usually, if you're corrected, you fix it the next time. You're like, oh, no, it's not debacle, it's debacle. Nobody's telling her that. I think that, and the fact that there's so many that nobody's correcting her, I think that this might be partially an explanation. Look, they have filled an entire feed of her not being able to read off of a teleprompter or to read her notes or to master the English language even at a basic level. So I think she's surrounded by yes men, and that's what has let this propagate, this thing build over and over again. Saying crazy things, doing crazy things. They just say, yes, Candace. Yes, Candace, we'll air it. Yes, Candace, we'll. Does that make sense to you guys? I could be completely off, but boy, it seems like it. I'm going to, I hate that I'm scrolling down. I'm missing some comments here. Let's see. Every Christian has a higher responsibility than the rest. None of us should want to have an answer to God for our misrepresentation at judgment. There you go, KC. Yeah, we are held to a higher standard. We have higher personal standards. That's it. That's such a great one. I like that one. It's not, let's see, the idea of evidence is not related to facts. Yep. Jeremiah. This is it. I'm guessing you're talking about the narrative part just a little while ago, that how they shape the narrative, they lie, they deceive, they change the language, they do all these devious things, and then they take it, they run with it, and they build on it, and it will have legs. The legs for a bad Democrat message will run for months or years, even after it's been proven to be false. And they know this. They're well aware of this, that a good, lie can, what is it they say, that a lie can make its way around the world before the truth has a chance to put its shoes on? That should be printed on the letterhead of every member of the DNC. It should. The lie can get around the world before the truth has a chance to put its shoes on. Which one was it? Was it Abby Phillip or which lady? They both drive me nuts. Yeah. Dear Abby, go away. Talking about Abby Phillip, yeah. Oh, guys, if you're just coming in, just popping in, feel free. I'm going through comments right now, but feel free to hit that subscribe button, like button, notification bell, and you'll be notified every time I release a video. You guys were chatting a lot tonight. Ben shouting out his buddy Marco there. Big Marco fan. That's good. Yeah, so I think the difference is, it's not a militia. Federal law enforcement can't be classified as a militia. Militia is, I think of militia from, conflicts past. It's civilians who are brought together into some sort of an organized military formation to fight off something. This is an entrenched federal agency who has a very specific task and purpose. So it ain't a militia, but militia sounds good. That's why they repeat militia. It makes it sound a bit lawless, that's why she was saying it was full of Proud Boys, and she called she called ICE a Proud Boy militia. These people don't know what they're talking about. They don't. They're just making crap up. That's what they do. A cross tattoo is not white supremacist, but a lot of it. Okay, that's Megan. That's a valid point. Yeah. So they got on Pete Hegseth. He wore whatever that Celtic cross is that he has. They tried to make any cross, anything is going to be it's going to be turned into something nefarious. It doesn't matter what tattoo you've got. But if it's Christian, they're going to say Christianity, because just like the Welch lady that I played the clip of, evangelical Christians are a cancer on the country, as she says. They're evil. They're the root of all the problems. Da 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 da. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a good point. They're calling it this white supremacist group, and yeah, a lot of them speak Spanish. ICE, CBP, they've got a ton of Latino agents because they're dealing with a lot of people from Latin America. They speak Spanish. Yeah, 100%. But see, this is part of the language too, Carol, is that it doesn't matter. The fact of it doesn't matter. It's just that you say, Democrat pundit says thing, Democrat lemmings repeat thing. Mainstream media picks it up, they repeat thing, and now everybody's pissed off, and the ones who watch ABC, CBS, CNN, they all believe it. That's kind of the summation of all of it, I think. Somebody said something in the comments, I was looking for it, about Candace's next thing. Is her next thing going to be AI, like cyborgs or something like that? I thought I saw that in the comments. I can't find it now. The comment gets busy. Let's see. This has happened more than we know. Yeah, talking about AI. So I know this was down in the AI part of the conversation for you guys. So yeah, I bet a lot of things have taken off, and it could be it doesn't even have to be viral per se, but it could be, thousands of people, and maybe it's fed to thousands of people here and there, but it's a small component. The AI photos, the AI videos that people buy into, it's like little things that like little scoops of dirt trying to build up a mound, or try to build, you know what I'm saying? It's the slow build is what it is. Brick by brick, little bit by little bit, it's building this distortion or whatever. I'm doing a terrible job explaining it, but you get the idea. Oh yeah, somebody had mentioned character AI. Yeah, character AI is. I haven't looked at it a lot. I know that, yeah, using this for deceased people, it is creepy. It is so creepy, but unethical, most definitely. Yeah, and you can mirror somebody's voice very easily, and the voice stuff is almost spot on. But you start creating avatars of people that aren't alive anymore. That's first step, by the way. When it comes to the transhumanist movement, right? Transhumanism these are like the precursors to that. That you can make somebody's, that it'll be down, they'll try to find some way to download the soul or whatever it is. But there's these rich people that want to live forever and at least make it to 200, 250 years old, whatever they're capable of doing, downloading your consciousness, being able to, it's just weird. It's weird. Making cyborgs of people, I don't know. And what we know about technology, that's the other part. What we have access to, I mean, think about it. In the 70s, they had the tech for CDs. It wasn't out on the market, but the tech was available. We're so, what is actually out there is, we don't even understand, because it's controlled release to the market. You can't just drop the biggest and greatest thing all at once. You're developing the technology, waiting to make it affordable, and then you can release it. So who knows what they're actually capable of. Boy, you got that right. That is it. He is obsessed with them. Obsessed with them. IDS, man. IDS. Not to be confused with IBS. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are. There's a cult following. He's kind of brought himself into that piece of the algorithm, that the cult following of people who are disenfranchised for one reason or another. They're pissed off at the world for one reason or another. And they latch on to, hey, who do we blame? Well, these people are acceptable, and there's a lot of people blaming them, so I'll get on board that one. And even some of the staunch, anti or not anti-Israel, but some of the people who really use that as the to build a base, like Nick Fuentes, he's even started backing away from it. I think that's because he's fake. I think that he's a poser, like a lot of the others are, but he's kind of backing away from it. Other folks, they're full bore. They're locked in, wasn't it the drummer from Pink Floyd that was on an acid trip, and he just got locked into that acid trip, and he was never going to come out of it? I think I heard that somewhere. That might be an old wives' tale or something. But Yeah, there's some people that are just locked in. I don't think you'll ever change their mind. Just like on the left, it's people on the left. There's a percentage of them that are just never going to. We're never going to convince them that the current state of liberalism or that socialism or communism is a bad thing. Despite the hundreds of millions of people that have lost their lives to socialism and communism, their minds are never going to be changed. It's just not going to happen. And here's the other part that frustrates me, guys, is nuance. I really miss the days of nuance. I've heard other folks talking about it, thankfully, like bigger people talking about it. The internet hates nuance. It really does. It wants black and white. This is as clear cut, and this is my opinion, and there's no way that there's no other way to look at it. And that's a ridiculous way to exist in a society. Like, nuance is everywhere, and it always will be. And we have to be in control of our emotions enough to be able to talk about it. I'm scrolling way down here. Let's see. Devil and Attack Tucker. It could be. I agree. Nick Flynn is a fake, but I think some of the cancel culture he experienced early on made him act out. Eric, that's a valid point. That is a valid point. I think it speaks to the generational thing, that there is a huge generation of young people that they've been told, in particular, young white men have been told that they're evil, have been told that they're awful. They've been, and then transcending, racial stuff. It's just young kids who are in, relationships are nearly impossible. The internet has completely skewed that for young people. They're just disenfranchised and they're ticked off. And Nick Fuentes is of that generation. And the cancel culture he experienced, it did make him act out. He just said, well, I'm just going to say anything and everything that I want to say. And now it's boxed him into a corner because that became his persona. And I think unbeknownst to him, or something that he wasn't expecting, was that he was going to get picked up bigly by the internet. And he did. And now he's trying to walk himself out of the corner. I hope I explained that properly, but there you go. There you go. Tucker takes advantage of U.S. freedom to shill for Islam. Yeah. Okay, you like Rubio over Vance. This is an interesting. I don't know who it's going to be. I couldn't tell you. I have my pros and cons for all the ones that are next in the hopper. But hey, there you go. Sorry, I hated to interrupt, but I just saw a new subscriber, TX Mother. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, and welcome aboard. Yeah, the Rubio Vance debate it's really an interesting one. Rubio, I was kind of against Rubio early on, back in the first time that he ran, because he seemed like one of the entrenched politicians. In my opinion, I felt like he was one of the up and comers in the deep state / uniparty, and he's broken away from that. But that's kind of his upbringing and what relationships got him into politics. Whose pocket is he still in? That thing kind of worries me. Vance, Peter Thiel. People talk about his relationship to Peter Thiel and to Tucker because they're still good buddies. We're never going to have a perfect candidate, but I don't know. I'm still unsettled on the two of them. People that are making staunch opinions about, or making very firm predictions or opinions about them now, I don't think that there's been enough information revealed about all of them, to really make a determination right now. And we're still a ways away. I mean, we're only finishing up the first year. I'm going to come back to you, TX Motherbird. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate all my new subscribers. And that was great. Going on Gary's show that is honestly, that's what I enjoy more than anything, is sitting down and having conversations with people, because even Gary and I, we didn't disagree on a lot, but I like to see his perspective. And when he's bringing something that is unique, a different way of looking at it because of his life and his experience, that only benefits me, and it really benefits you guys. So if apples to apples, I would much rather spend more time sitting down with other people and having conversations like that than just talking. I love talking, by the way. I love sitting here. I mean, I've been going for, I don't know, an hour and a half. I can definitely talk people's ears off, but yeah, conversations are it's fantastic. It's really great. And with great Americans, that's the other thing. Patriots who love this country. We have most definitely the same goal in mind. We love America, and we just want what's best for it. So, and he and I only got into one issue. I would love to pick his brain on some other stuff. So, Rubio's kind of little Marco, not so little anymore. I tell you what, Ben, he's been doing a really good job as Secretary of State, and that I guess I want to say grit, but his quick wit and all of that has started making an appearance again, and I appreciate that. I do like that. It's entertaining, but even more so, it makes for great content that we can show the stupidity of Democrats. So, yeah, Democrat politicians in particular. Let's see. Yeah, so Billy Mandalay, you made a great point. His connection, the guy that helped him with his media company, it was $15 million, I believe, was the injection from was he a Qatari, the guy that invested in Tucker's media company? Was he a Qatari or was he a Saudi or what was he? I forget. I'm pretty sure he was a Qatari. I could look it up, but don't quote me on that, but you can Google it. I don't have strong thoughts yet about next president. I'm more concerned about the midterm. You and me both. 100%. I think that's why so many people like myself, and I know Gary has been doing a lot of it. Jay Witt has been doing a lot of it, a lot of content, trying to show, look, people that are following Candace, the millions of people that are listening to Candace, the millions of people that are listening to Nick Fuentes, the millions of people that are listening to Tucker. You were being deceived. You were being deceived. Come on. And it's up to us, honestly, for me as a commentator, I'm sitting here reaching however many people this show's going to see. But even when I'm out in my personal life, I'm trying to explain to people, if I come across Candy fans, Candy cultists or whatever, I'm telling them, hey, you realize she got this wrong. She got that wrong. She got this wrong. She got that wrong. This isn't true. This was made up in a dream. Do you buy into that? Yeah. I try to ask them the craziest stuff. Do you think Charlie was a time traveler? Is that, you're pretty confident about that? You're pretty confident about Erika, being involved in her husband's unaliving, Yeah, do you feel good about that? Is that, that's kind of the thing. Make them question themselves because they bought into a story. They haven't bought into facts. People can pitch you something. A salesman can sell you on, an absolute lemon of a house, but they sell you because it's got, I don't know, they extended the kitchen a little bit. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, but the floorboards are rotten out. The foundation is wrecked, but they slapped a little paint on it, made it look pretty. Candace is just selling people on her silly stories and theories. Here in D.C., city council, because Eric, you're making a great point. Another great point. You and I guess Arhos, I guess I missed yours if you said it. So I'll give shout out to both you all. Local politics is so stinking important. It is so stinking important. And we neglect it. I do too. I try my hardest to sit down and at least listen to it online. I'm in a pretty conservative part of the country, but we had a situation. I was ranting and raving about it a few months ago, and me not doing my due diligence in my locale, in my city, which is small. It's a very small city, but I had multiple tax increases in a very short period of time, like an hour in a year and a half. We had a 14% bump, and then we had a 25% bump, and then we had or a 50% bump, and then they added 25% on top of that for property tax. And this is in Tennessee. This is a conservative part of Tennessee. So I should have been more involved. And once you get bit by that one time, you don't make that mistake again. So great, just a great point. Local politics is huge. Yeah, I would agree. Mother Bird, I would agree. Yep. Yeah, he got, he passed with so much support that it makes me wary. If there's not a fight, I'm skittish about it. And there wasn't any pushback from Rubio. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. But you're right. What he's been doing has been very impressive. And it could be him posturing too, between him and J.D. Vance. Secretary of State is such an active position, and he's doing so much because Donald Trump and his foreign policy is, a big component of what he's doing. And Rubio's been performing. I think it could be partially a setup just to posture him for the presidential run. Whether it'd be presidential or vice president, I don't know. But golly, two quick-witted guys, a J.D. Vance and a Marco Rubio, at least on the surface, that sounds pretty good, but TBD. I know. Candace says, I don't care about your midterms. Who cares about your midterms? That's I've criticized the Republican Party for a long time about not having a good long-term plan. We do this silly thing where we look at the next election, but we aren't looking out into the distance. And the Democrats have done that for a long time. And to have somebody come in and say, well, now I'm really I don't even care about the next one that's in the midterms. We're in danger territory right now. This is crunch time right now for the midterms. And say, I don't care about that. I care about my conspiracies more. That tells me exactly where her priorities lie. And it ain't with the long-term success of this country or even the short-term success of this country. You got that right. Boy, y'all are leaving some great comments here. Even DCC. So frustrating. Every DC city council member is a Democrat and liberal. Yeah. And it's only getting worse, Eric. The redistricting, they're talking, I think it's Maryland is it Maryland? Oh, I just talked about it. My recall has been terrible. Sorry, I've got a leg cramp here. My recall has been awful. I think it's Maryland that's about to remove its last Republican seat because of redistricting. And this is the fight that the Democrats are also very good at. Shaping and I think the illegal immigration is part of this. The census is what is the census in a year? When's the next census? 2 years? When is the next census? Oh wait, no, it's not. It's not till 2030. Okay, for some reason I thought it was sooner than that. Before the main event, 2026 census test will be conducted to test new methodologies, but it's not until 2030. Once that happens, whoa! If we haven't moved around some of these illegal immigrants, we could see a big shift. I think. We don't care about midterms. We do. Yeah, Maryland. Okay, thank you for correcting me on that, or for confirming me on that one. Yeah. If we lose the midterms, that will derail everything that Trump is trying to do already. Plus, he'll most definitely, yeah. That's why it's so important. He's only, look, and this is 2028 the census? Is that what you're saying? I just Googled it. It said 2030, but I don't know. Yes, if we lose the midterms, that's why I've been railing about it, or, been so, I don't know, eager to talk about it. Why I keep pushing it is it's actually really important. This is the last chance he gets. We've got to win the midterms if he's going to complete, all the things that he has promised. And the infighting it's not helping. That's why I don't know. I don't know. People pick the wrong time to start dividing up this movement. It really disgusts me. Or it's an op and it's intentional. I don't know. I don't know if I want to get that conspiratorial, but the people that are doing it are Tucker was a never Trumper. I think Candace was a never Trumper, but then she got on board with it. People that glommed onto Trump. Tucker Carlson will sit here and talk about all the bad things that the U.S. does. And then he shows up because he's buddies with J.D. Vance, shows up at the dinner with Donald Trump. The White House has to say, we didn't invite him. It was obviously J.D. Vance who did. So he still gets to roll around and sit in the seat of power and, be there with all of the cronies that he's been buddies with forever, all the politicians. And then he goes back to doing his show and he just sits here and tells you about how terrible the country is, how horribly it's run, da-da-da-da-da. It's frustrating. Lose the midterms, we were back to... Yeah, and yes, and to continue, 100%, we'll be back to impeachment again. It'll be lame duck. Okay, guys, I'm through the comments. Let me make sure I didn't miss any big ones. I'm sorry if I did. I tried to hit just about everybody that left a comment. And I think I got there. I don't... Candace Michelle, Candace Michelle, I didn't put your comment up. You were laughing at my IBS joke. Oh, gosh. That's funny. Let's see. Someone... Oh, yeah. I did. I'm going to play a couple of yours, Candace Michelle, because, I was playing those clips of Candace Owens. Should get her hooked on phonics. Again, I'm telling you, I think it is just a bunch of yes people. They don't want to tell her that she's wrong. So she just keeps mispronouncing words. I'm sorry I don't know. She has a very limited vocabulary, apparently. She doesn't care about the midterms. She's actively making sure Trump will lose it by discredit. Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. Well, Charlie Kirk, losing Charlie Kirk, and then Candace Owens turning all of her anger and vitriol towards the very organization that she says was, so important to her at one point in time. It just looks like petty jealousy. Part of me thought, this is just a thought that came into my mind. It's no fact behind it or anything, but I thought, did she think that somebody was going to turn her into the white knight that was going to come right in and save the day from Turning Point, and that she was going to be the one to lead it, and she felt like she should have been leading Turning Point? I don't have any evidence to back that up, but I don't have any, I don't know. She wasn't even at, I think, who was it that had said this? It might have been Gary over at Paramount Tactical. I don't want to put that word into his mouth because I don't know if he said it or not. Somebody I was listening to recently said that she wasn't even invited to his wedding. So I feel like the U.S. has been given a short window of grace by God when Trump was elected, and I don't want to see it wasted. I don't think that's dramatic. The other part of, for as tragic as it was, there have been moments over the past several years of revival in America. It happened up at Asbury College, which is notorious for having revivals and things like that. But, it's happened up there definitely. After Charlie Kirk, it was happening. People were, experiencing, it had an impact. It had a huge impact on people. And a lot of young people were turning to God and not towards what a lot of people would turn to in a time of crisis or difficulty, which would be drugs and alcohol. There were some, I'm sure, that did, but there was huge revival then. And that's something that this country we've been seeing a fair amount of it. I hear it because I work with some folks in like the Christian nonprofit world. I talk to other people, around the country who talk about little revivals that have popped up here and there. And so I feel like there's channels you can listen. Somebody mentioned Ruslan KD. Ruslan KD, his audience is very young, and Ruslan is talking about biblical things, and his channel is growing, and I think it's growing fast because there is kind of a hunger for people to hear that. So I don't think you're wrong at all, but that the U.S. has been given a short window of grace by God. I think it's up to us to try to make that grace by God go a little further by conducting ourselves accordingly, running our country as we should. But I don't want to see it wasted either. So Let's see. I think that too, without evidence, of course, but I think she founded Blexit, and it was combined with TP USA, and I think Candace thought she was entitled. Yeah, there you go. Eric, we're on the same page tonight, my friend. We are on the same page tonight. Yeah, I was just talking a minute ago about her wedding, and Motherbird says no, she was not there, and that says a lot. Yeah, it does. Yep, Ben's on board too. Yep. Tracy, she said, she thought she was going to be Mrs. Charlie Kirk. I've heard people make that claim as well. I don't know. Yep, there you go. Gritsnitch. I'm trying to think of how to pronounce that. It's an interesting. I'll just call you Grit. Some of them I can't pronounce. Let's see. Okay, what Candace seems to be what Candace thinks and what is happening in reality seems to be worlds apart. Oh boy, you got that right. For 3 years in a row, Blexit was in the hole. For 3 years in a row, Blexit was in the hole, $1 million, and Candace was president of TPUSA when that happened. I didn't realize that. I hadn't looked at the financials for... Was Blexit its own 501c3, or was that just a social media movement? I thought it was just a social media movement. I didn't realize it was a separate 501c3. I never bothered to look it up. I think she is outraged that TPSA didn't reach out to her and ask her to come back after CK was... That's a good point, Future. Yeah. Silly jealousy, How dare you? I'm big. I deserve, That's the entitlement mindset that drives me bananas. We're not entitled to anything. I'm sorry, you're not entitled to... You can have 5 million followers, however many you've got. Doesn't make you entitled to anything. I've worked, I deserve this, I deserve that. No, sorry, you don't. It was, okay, so it was a separate 501c3. All right. Thanks for letting me know that. That's good. I'll look into that, because those financials, I'm sure if it still exists as an organization, I'll go to the IRS website and see if I can find out, look up all the data. Guys, I'm a nerd at heart. I really am. I enjoy doing that. That sort of work. I've read so many IRS filings from nonprofits. It is, it's unimaginable. My wife will say, "What in the world are you doing?" Like, I'm reading IRS documents. What are you doing? I was Blexit was. Yeah, so it was the black people exiting the Democrat Party, leaving it for the Republican Party. Yeah. And there's a lot of, because there's Turning Point Action, there's Turning Point USA, there's Turning Point UK, there's Turning Point Faith, there's a lot of 501c3s, but I had always just treated Blexit as a social media movement. I'd never even bothered to look for it as an actual nonprofit. So that's interesting to me. That's why it's good to have many brains on this, and I appreciate you guys for filling me in on that one. It's very good. Let's see. Everybody to watch the first video Candace posted after Charlie this. She actually spells out then her intentions. She wants journals. She wants evidence. She wants journals. She wants metadata. She's absolutely, yeah. Okay, so this is a great point. The things that she asks for are things that she is not entitled to. She treats herself as though she's, she has subpoena power. And look, the court of public opinion has a lot of authority. in this world, unfortunately. But that doesn't give her subpoena power. And this is what's wild is she can make the demand and say, this is what I want. Give this to me now. And her people think that because she is their overlord, she owes it to people, and not doing it, even though they're under no obligation to give it to a person talking into a microphone on the internet. They think that implies guilt. So they're guilty. Candace says they're guilty. Then she says, well, prove that you're not. So Candace makes unfounded allegations, says, prove to me now that you're not. Give me all this personal data or metadata, or give me these logs, or give me these journals. Give me this, give me that. And they say, no, we don't have to give you that. And her and all of her followers say, guilty. That's what it is. It's a ludicrous way to look at the world. And I think it shows. Somebody mentioned it before. It comes from narcissism and just conceit, whatever else. No, Lexit came from, going back to the Blexit thing, Lexit came from Brexit, which is Great Britain leaving the EU. So that was kind of it was a play on that. Check out the Form 990 on the foundation. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a look at the 990s. Like I say, I love reading the IRS documents. They're so telling. Mostly what I've done with nonprofits is go look at government funding to find out how much government funding is going into them. And that's where I pulled all the data from, well, many shows over the years where I've looked at nonprofits helping smuggle individuals into the U.S. So, yeah, that's typically what I take a peek at. Let's see. You guys are leaving some great comments. I just keep rolling through them. You keeping me talking. I'm going overtime tonight. Let's see. Let's see here. Blexit, yes, yes. She was stating she was working 30 to 40 hours a week with Blexit while working at the Daily Wire. I mean, 80 hours a week at assuming that she's putting in 40 hours a week at the Daily Wire. I mean, 80 hours a week is feasible, I guess, but I would take that from her. I would take it with a grain of salt. Sorry, not sorry. Let's see. Candace Owens must be Ash. I'll be honest, Megan, I don't know Pokemon, so I don't know what Ash is, but I have heard the phrase, you got to catch them all. Let's see. Yeah, they are great comments in here. 100%. Your walkaway campaign, I feel like throwing out. Oh yeah, walkaway. That was walkaway the not Straka, wasn't that his name? Brian Straka, wasn't that was he the walkaway campaign, or am I thinking of something completely different? Hey, thanks, Vincent. I appreciate it. We've been on here for my regulars know I normally don't go for 2 hours, but I'm on a roll tonight. So but I appreciate you coming back. I really enjoyed it. I got to keep reiterating. I really enjoyed being on Gary's show. It was great. So I appreciate you subscribing. It means a lot. I really do appreciate it. Building this community. That's what we're doing. Ash is the main character. Okay. Straka. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Brandon Straka. I'll have to look it up. I can't remember. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Vincent, you got me covered. Brandon Straka. That's it. about psychology. I'm not well read about psychology, but I really do wonder how it became the way she is. Oh, man. So I'm going to tell you something interesting. I have some, let's just say I have researched narcissistic personality disorder before. And I'm not well versed in it. I'm obviously not a psychologist, but I've had some exposure to it. So I was curious about it. And she shows all the signs of it, of narcissistic personality disorder. And it's not my understanding is it's not even a curable thing. I'm not going to diagnose the woman and say that's absolutely what she has, but the way she behaves and the claims she makes and how she conducts herself lends itself to narcissistic personality disorder, at least the symptoms. I ask everybody you can look it up. Look it up and you tell me what you think. But yeah, Gary is awesome. He's cool. I've been watching his content for a while. I really started watching him consistently during the Candace Owens stuff. His coverage was, after Charlie Kirk's assassination, he did some really good videos walking through this stuff, and I like the fact that he's very detailed, he's well researched, he knows his stuff, and yeah, it's that type of content I enjoy. Shoot me straight on that. And he does that. So yeah, it's cool. And it was cool of him to have, it was cool of him to have a small channel on. Not a lot of people would do that. I've reached out to other content creators, like bigger channels. And so a couple of them have said, yeah, I'll have you on and we're trying to figure it out. But, he found out from Ben here in the chat. Ben is the one that linked us up, and he was literally just texted me and said, hey, you want to be on the show? I said, or DM me. I said, yeah, absolutely. And that was it. I was on and it was great. We had a blast. So I'm waiting for the behavioral panel to do a breakdown of. Yeah, that could be it. That could be it. MPD doesn't exactly lend. No, it doesn't, because in order to get therapy, you have to admit there's a problem. And part of narcissistic personality disorder is you never have a problem. You are never the problem. You can't be the problem. But it's always other people. It's the other people doing this thing to you, that thing to you, even though it's a response to what you yourself are doing, which you can't look inwardly to say, oh, you can't do a self-analysis. That's part of the problem with narcissistic personality disorder. Self-analysis is impossible. So that's why it never gets cured. It never gets fixed. So seeking therapy, you can't convince a narcissist, a true, just deeply ingrained, locked in narcissist, that you need therapy help or anything like that. It's wild. So most of the time, I've listened to psychologists talk about it. If it's in a family, most of the time, narcissistic personality disorder, it either breaks up the family or that person becomes ostracized. So I don't know. Let's see. There are legitimate father issues there too. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's right. She was raised by her grandfather, I think, wasn't she? Hey, there you go. Okay, cool. There you go. I'm a gal. I'm a gal, yo. I like the handle. That's good. That's good. Narcissist sounds like, yeah, it is. No, it is. And that's why you can't argue with some of them. The deeply ingrained narcissist, you're never going to, it's just not going to happen. You cannot convince them. And this is what we were talking about last night was, moral relativism. Moral relativism, I can't say definitively that it breeds narcissism, but when you put yourself as the head of your own, of your own world and your own morality, that's going to lead you towards narcissism, to say, oh no, I determine the reality and the morals and all that of my world. Well, how are you going to turn out as anything other than a narcissist? You know what I mean? So yeah, leftists are that way. They're very narcissistic. I call it the religion of self. That's what it is. You can hear theologians and other people talk about it, and it's true, that everybody's going to have some sort of a God. And that, for Christians, we tell people you've got a God-sized hole in your heart and you're going to fill it with something, whether that's, alcohol or pornography or drugs or whatever it happens to be. Or money or fame or something. You're going to fill that hole in your heart with something. And the left does it with self. They do it with a lot of those other things too. But you're finding something to bring you like satisfaction and to, look or even if it's in a small way, treating it as a higher authority. But you kind of get my idea with that. And this is why socialism has to get rid of Christianity, because socialism requires the government to be the ultimate authority. And the left, they have multiple authorities, but in moral relativism, it's me, I'm my own authority. And then in socialism, communism, whatever, it's the government is the ultimate authority. And you got to remove anything above that, because when you have natural rights like we do here in the United States, or we're supposed to, you can't, like socialism, communism wouldn't function. So you got to erase the church from the equation and make the government the most powerful entity in people's lives. But yep. Okay, guys, I have passed the 2-hour mark. You all are awesome. I have had a great time tonight. The first time in a while, at least solo, that I've gone for 2 hours, and I enjoyed it. Y'all gave me some great questions, so please, if you're on here and you haven't done so, I would really appreciate everybody hit that subscribe button, like button, and notification bell, and share the content around the internet. I'm on X. I'm on, well, you can see down here at the bottom of the screen over here, I'm on Rumble, X, and YouTube. So guys, check me out everywhere. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys, should be, Lord willing, tomorrow, as long as the power doesn't go out. We're supposed to get a snowstorm now in East Tennessee, so I guess we'll see what happens. My goodness. But you guys take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday evening, and I'll see you tomorrow at 6:30, by the way. That's usually when I'm on, is 6:30. That's what I'm always shooting for. Self-centered world is biblical in the end times. Okay, there you go. I got to pop up KC here real quick. This is true. This is true. And the, knowledge, our access to knowledge will increase. People will have great access to knowledge. You can look at what's going on in the world. I don't get a lot into eschatology and those sorts of things. I don't talk a lot of straight up biblical stuff because I'm not a pastor. I don't get a ton into eschatology, but you can see things. I mean, people make, a buddy of mine, some of my buddies, they're really deep into it. And a lot of things in the world right now going on are kind of shape themselves around Revelation, end times prophecy, that sort of thing. So yeah, very true. But we're self-centered. Look, we're a fallen world. We are, we're born bad, and there's only one way to get right in this world. And so, yeah, we're fallen people. We got to where we get our morality from, I think is the most important, I believe, from the Bible, is where you get your morality. It's where I get my morality. That's where I get my whole worldview. So anyway, I recommend others do the same. God bless you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great Thursday evening.